We are now fully immersed in the Journey Together format, which brought a lot of new dynamics to the standard format of Pokemon TCG, and with them, new top tier decks to beat. If you've been following the results of major tournaments, it shouldn't surprise you at all that Gardevoir EX, Dragapult EX and Raging Bull EX have been dominating and at the top, with Gholdengo EX following very close behind. Whilst many of us don't mind playing top tier decks, I know many people would rather stay a little bit away from the top tier meta decks and play something that is more different in the approach of how they win the game. Yes, the decks at the top are there for a reason. But that doesn't mean there aren't others that can shine and do well, at their results from the latest major events have proven just that. I was one of the casters for the Milwaukee Regional, and in my predictions for cards to succeed at the tournament, I chose Flareon EX to represent the Evolutions archetype and Zoroark EX because I was impressed by it after it got top 4 at Sevilla the weekend before. And both decks did not disappoint. The asymmetrical top card had 2 Zoroark and 1 Evolution deck, and they were all piloted by pretty amazing players, with Lucas Singh and Ivan Pavelski playing Zoroark and Ian Robb playing Evolutions. The way these decks approach games is a lot more methodical and calculated than something like Raging Bull EX, for example, which is pure brute force, or Dragapult EX, which is just trying to buy enough time with Buddy's Itchy Pollen to overwhelm an opponent. So in today's video, we are going to talk about how these archetypes work, why they are competitive, and why you should consider using either of them if you're planning on playing in one of the major tournaments remaining before we have the brand new Destined Rival set come into the scene for the last tournament of the 2025 season, NAIC. Don't forget that you can watch videos 24 hours earlier if you become a channel member by following the link in the description below. This kind of support helps me continue to create content like this, so please consider becoming a channel member if you enjoy the content. Starting off with the Zoroark EX deck, Zoroark EX has the trade ability that lets you discard a card from your hand to use this ability and then draw 2 cards. It also has a Knight's Joker attack, which for 2 Darkness Energy, you can choose one of your benched Ents Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. Zoroark EX will be the draw engine as well as the main attacker of the deck, and the copying attacks reminds me a lot of Mew VMAX. Now, before we jump onto which of Ents Pokemon we're going to focus on copying, we need to talk about Ents PP Up, that attaches 1 basic energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Ents Pokemon. This item is the key to unlock Zoroark's potential, especially when going up against Pokemon that can take it down in one hit, like Teal Maskogre EX or Raging Bull EX. The main partner for Zoroark EX will be Enstar Manitan, which with its first attack, Backdraft, does 30 damage for each energy in your opponent's discard pile. With its fire type, it can really put a dent on Gholdengo EX as well as Teal Maskogre EX, so it won't just be a bench sitter for you to copy in a game. The second attack is a lot costlier and also more powerful, dealing 90 damage to the active Pokemon and 90 damage to a benched one, but also discarding all energy. While using this attack is easy with Zoroark EX, you have to play Reversal Energy in order to power up the hefty Fire colorless cost under Manitan itself. The next Pokemon is Ents Reshiram, with a powerful Rage attack which does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. This isn't great on Reshiram itself, but it's fantastic on the 280 HP Zoroark EX. If they don't KO you in one hit, you can likely punish them for not doing so by KOing them back for a lot of damage. The Innocent Flame attack just deals a straight up 170 damage, which is not very impressive, but can 1-KO Squawkabilly EX as well as Mew EX thanks to weakness. The final important end card is the Stadium, Ents Castle. This stadium gives each of Ents Pokemon in play a 0 retreat cost. This prevents any sort of trapping play from an opponent, as well as helping our hefty Darmanitan leave the active spot after it discarded all its energy. Lucas Singh's version of the deck features a supporting cast of Body, Clef, and Fizandipity EX to help slow things down, as well as find resources to set up, or key pieces like Reversal Energy, of course combined with a fantastic trade ability. Finally, we have Bloodmoor Saloni EX as an alternate powerful attacker with Monkidori to help with extra damage spread in case there's leftover damage on our board, since we are already playing Darkness Energy in our deck. The final piece of the deck is Bombardier EX, which many of you are probably wondering why it's in the deck at all, since despite its first attack, Fast Carrier, letting you use it even if you go first to search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto the bench, your odds of starting it with only 1 copy are way too low to be worth it. It's actually a pretty good answer to an otherwise unbeatable card for the deck though, Cornerstone Ogerpon EX. You can power it up to use its Shadowy Wind attack in order to actually damage it, and then return it to hand after it has taken a hit, preventing any prizes for your opponent, or letting it go down and finishing off the Cornerstone with a Flame Body Cannon from Enstar Manitan. With a deck featuring 4 Cyrano as the main way to find Zoroark EX, you can also grab Bombardier EX if needed, and retreat into it with End's Castle, or off a body or Clefastart and still use its first attack to help set up. The other supporters in the deck are pretty self-explanatory, with Cypher Maniac's Codebreaking being such a cool card to combo with Trade that I'm wondering why there aren't more copies of it similar to the Golden Go EX builds that we are seeing have so much success. The deck is in a pretty good position in the format right now, since there is no way to protect the bench and thus a Zoroark EX copying Darmanitan's attack to take down 2 Ralts or Kirlia against Gardevoir, or 2 Dreepy or Dragcloak against Dragapult can be very difficult for them to recover from. The deck is also very resilient to hand disruption thanks to the trade and flip the script abilities, making it extra appealing against both of these top decks relying on first stamp and 4 Iono to slow opponents down. Its game plan against Golden EX is similar by pressuring 2 small basic Pokemon, and this even works against Raging Bolt EX now that the deck relies on the Noctowl engine to get going consistently. With well-rounded matchups against the top tier decks, it's no surprise that Zoroark EX is now being recognized as a more competitive deck as the metagame continues to evolve and will likely be a major contender for the upcoming major tournaments. Now, let's jump into the next deck, Evolutions, which is basically Sylveon EX with Flareon EX, as they are the 2 best ones so far. The deck existed before Journey Together came out, but thanks to Lilith's Clefairy EX, it can now do so much better against the top deck Dragapult EX, thanks to Magical Charm taking an easy KO on any Dragapult EX once Fairy Zone is active. The damage reduction from Magical Charm is underwhelming, as you're almost always looking to take things down in one hit, but it's definitely useful in some niche situations. While its attack is great for Dragapult EX, its second attack, Angelite, is what really stands out since it is so unique. Being able to choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon from the bench and shuffle them back into your deck is something that reminds us of Sylveon GX's Plea GX attack, but that was once per game. Angelite is just limited to not being able to use it for a turn, but then you can go ahead and use it again. Shuffling back powered up threats, energy, or supporting Pokemon in any combination is a very powerful move and is one of the main reasons this deck can succeed. It's an alternate way to disrupt and slow down opponents, and it's especially powerful against other slow setup decks like Dragapult or Gardevoir, where setting up one stage 2 is not exactly easy. With Magical Charm able to now 1-KO Dragapult EX, and Angelite being able to shuffle that hard-earned Gardevoir EX, and possibly a powered up Pokemon like Drifloon with a bunch of Psychic Energy into the deck, forcing them to re-establish not only the stage 2, but also a way to discard those energy again, this deck can go toe-to-toe against the top 2 archetypes. Not to mention that the booster evolution Eevee can let you pull this off out of the blue in a single turn thanks to Crispin and Sparkling Crystal. So it's no surprise that a top player like Ian Rubb decided to play this deck and made it all the way to a top 8 at the Milwaukee Regional Championships. His list played a full 4-4 line of Noctowl to help with the setup, and a combination of 2 Flareon EX and 2 Sylveon EX to have the right attacker for the right time. Flareon EX has 2 very powerful attacks, with Burning Charge letting you power up a backup attacker and also taking down a Golden Go EX thanks to weakness, giving you coverage against another top deck, and Carnelian just letting you do straight up damage that is always welcome. 280 covers almost every stage 1 Pokemon EX that is relevant in the metagame, and with Kieran's extra 30 it can cover even a Gardevoir EX that has no damage on it. Terrapagos EX and Lilith's Clefairy EX are great backup attackers as well in a pinch, and with the Fan Rotom engine as well as Fezandipity EX, Mew EX and Latias EX, the deck has all its bases covered. The deck relies heavily on Crispin, but this deck is a much more versatile and powerful version of the Tank Terrapagos EX deck we had been seeing do well in the early stages of the Journey Together metagame. It has a higher potential damage output as well as the possibility to be very disruptive thanks to Angelite. The deck can struggle against Raging Bolt EX at times though, if they get a little far ahead in the price race, since there's no good single price attacker that can help mitigate the aggression or alter the price trade. However, a well-timed disruptive Angelite with an Iono could leave them with a very awkward field of either no support Pokemon to continue finding Professor Sal's Vitality, or no access to a Terra Pokemon or an attacker. The deck boasts a lot of decent matchups against the other top tier decks though, and with how strategic it is to use a well-timed Angelite on the correct targets, this is a great choice for players who really want to find alternate win conditions or slow games down before overwhelming an opponent. Both of these decks have now proven themselves at the big stage to show that it can contend with the others at the top, so if you're looking to switch things up at your next tournament, I generally recommend checking either of these decks out. Will these 2 decks remain viable once Destined Rivals comes out though? I think so, but we'll take a closer look at Destined Rivals in another video in the near future. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know your thoughts on these two decks or others that you think can be competitive outside of the usual suspects. Until next time! If you want to support the channel, you can use code tablemon to get 5% off at Potent Store for your online codes, 10% off for your sealed product at Flipside Gaming, and 10% off on your aluminum accessories at TC Evolutions. Or if you're looking to buy singles or sleeves, you can fill up your cart and close the tab, then click on the affiliate link in the description and check out. That way you can support the channel over at TCG Player, Card Market, and Dragon Shield. ¿Eres de México y necesitas cartas de Pokémon? Busca Hyperbeam Cards en Facebook e Instagram. Y si estás en Tijuana, búscalos en el local C27 en el Centro Comercial Otay.